Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Daniel.
And Aaron.
Okay. So I hope everyone's been learning some stuff recently.
Have.
Yeah, right? a lot of stuff. Once again, it's busy season. We're running full board. It's been pretty crazy for us over here. I hope it's the same everywhere else. I would assume so. The heat's been insane. We've been seeing a ton of different stuff that we normally don't see, which is kind of cool, I guess.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been just a little bit of a twist. I don't know where you're from. We've been getting a lot of voles. Weird. Out of nowhere. We didn't have this issue.
Yeah.
I went to a property and they were literally infested with more crickets than I knew what to do with. I mean, it was insane. I was telling you about that.
Right.
I can't just, you want to like say something, but you can't.
Yeah.
Because they're so calm.
Yeah.
Like literally they're just like walking and it's just like the ground is just like constantly
just dispersing in front of you.
And I'm just like looking around like, this is just like, this is normal, huh?
Yeah. Like this is your everyday.
I mean, literally everywhere. I couldn't believe it. I still wish I took a video, but they were outside, so I couldn't. But I was still just like they're like, oh yeah, we have crickets. And I'm like, you have some?
It's like I could see that.
Like you have, yeah. After I sprayed, these people were sweeping their porch actually, and they have it's both sides, so they have cement patches on the front of the house and on the back of the house.
Okay.
And they were literally sweeping twice a day,
just
front
and
back.
Bodies off.
Yeah, it was so, and they would actually sweep them up, and he's like, I'd throw them in the field behind because he didn't even want to put them in the garbage can. I mean, there were just so many dead ones. Yeah. He's like, now finally, and that was a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks. Actually, no, 2 weeks ago today. So they've been doing that every day. He's like, for the first, I think it was like 3 or 4 days, they were going through it.
Insane.
Yeah, it was absolutely, so crazy. So fun stuff getting out there, get out in the field.
Yeah.
No, so we talked a little bit about when to hire somebody and when you're pulling somebody on. And what we want to do is we want to dive a little bit more into that because so many people jump in, they grab, their first person, they get them on, they have, whether it's a tech or in the office, however they handle it. And then what? Where do you go from there?
Are you set? Now you're safe, right? You got your person, they're running their route. You don't have to worry about it anymore, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what a lot of people do think, right? Rule very wrong. There's a lot to learn. And hopefully the point of these episodes is actually to get these people past that learning curve. Because the hard part is you jump in. I did it. You jump in, you get someone, you pull them on, you're running it, and then you start hitting these problems. And you're like, why are these problems coming up? Right. And a lot of people who will be listening, hopefully will change this prior to.
Sure.
But so many people don't think about it. I was a route tech at a big company. I know how to spray. I can start a business. And then they do it. And then they hire someone. And then they're like, crap, I didn't know that I had to do this too, or that, and that, and that, and have this thought out and have that planned. And it's a huge learning curve.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. But jumping into that, you hire your guy, you bring him on, you threw him in a truck, you're done. Right?
Yeah.
Until when?
Exactly.
What problem should we bring up first?
I was going to say, let's separate it. What are some problems from the person who's actually doing the hiring and problems from the new hire themselves? So from the person that's doing the hiring, we kind of grazed over it, but you don't just wipe your hands and expect them to produce the same way you do. I have this problem, or I did have this problem when I first took on being over the technicians, is I can understand, I can look at a situation. I understand based on the training I have how to deal with it. If I explain it to somebody, I expect them to grasp it in a similar way I did because they repeated it to me and they've shown me they can do it. And then we let them go out in the field and they do the complete opposite right after we had the meeting about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one.
Yeah, no. And that, it is. I mean, and that comes back down to the training program. What does your training program look like and what's happening during that?
Yeah.
Because you do pull them in and then you train them in the way, and then is there checks and balances after that?
Right.
Most people don't think about that stuff. They think I'm going to tell them it's done. I've said it. It's over with.
Yeah.
Now, there's more to it.
There is.
So that's where so many get the mistake, and you may get lucky. You may find someone who understands, they get it. You teach them once, perfect. We're ready to go and we're running. That's if you're lucky. We're hiring people. This is the season, right? You start to hire a bunch of people on, you're pulling more people on. What does your training program look like? What does that hiring process look like? How quickly can you get them, trained and in a vehicle and ready to go? And then do you have those checks and balances moving forward?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's a big thing that people don't spend the time to actually figure out. And I didn't figure it out until I hired someone, ran into the issue, and then it was like, okay, now I got to figure it out. Because we'll put a twist on that. Okay, you hire someone, right? You bring them on, you train them, and of course they're not going to do the same job as you're doing.
Sure.
But you've accepted that. Okay, you're good. Well, what happens when people start moving their services and that person starts to work less and they have less than 40 hours a week? Now, what do? Are you prepared for that? Because you're going to have them ask, I came on for a full-time position. I'm not getting full-time hours. I need full-time hours.
Yeah.
So what do? A lot of people don't think about those things.
Yeah. What did you do?
Well, I had to create door tags.
Okay. There we go.
So I created work. So that's fine. Because we actually had 2 technicians on, and both of the technicians were light because they had to take each other's routes.
Okay.
And so at the end of the month, we had 2 to 3 days open. And so what we had to create was on our weekly meeting day, it was, okay, you're cleaning out your vehicle, you're restocking everything. We had to extend that time out. So they only had a handful of appointments on Fridays, but we were eating up all their time.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't do it any other way. I mean, you can only sell so fast.
Yeah.
Even if you're out there knocking doors, okay, you're adding on 2 accounts a day. That's not going to fill up a guy.
It's not going to fill a route.
No. I mean, you'd have to be doing way more than that, but you're the owner too. So then what?
Exactly.
So they got a problem with their B&G. You got to go fix it. They left their keys in their truck. You got to go unlock it.
Yeah.
So who's doing the running around?
Okay.
You're in the office because you hired an outside tech. Well, who's in the office if you're outside?
Yeah.
Right? Nobody. So you have to start thinking a lot about those things. And there's so many different scenarios, but that was the one. We have the one where you train them. What was the other one? I mean, there's so much that we can run into.
Oh, I mean, you nailed it on the head. Not having a training program. We asked, like, how does your training program look like? Do you even have one?
Yeah.
Do you have that plan? I mean, when we were making the idea for this episode, I specifically wanted to talk about like the retention side of it and keeping, employees. And I think a big issue is that there is a lot of gray area and there's not really a lot of set structure with a plan. And at least for you guys, this is kind of how we do it on the business side.
Yeah.
So initially hiring someone on, regardless if they have no experience, tons of experience, you have a 90-day probationary period. That period is your chance to prove yourself. You don't call out sick. You don't show up late. You don't piss anybody off. You come in, do your job outlined. We shake hands and agree. Okay, they get through their 90 days. Boom. From that point, we have an evaluation based on the 90-day period on what they're good at, what they need to work on. Every 60 days after that, we're having a ride along, basically quality control, where me or another manager, however big your company is riding along with the technicians. You're a fly on the wall. You're absorbing everything. Also, before you get in these ride-alongs, documentation is so crucial. And this is something that you've helped me out with because I didn't realize how much stuff actually piles up. So for a lot of our technicians, especially the ones who are doing more of the sensitive accounts, I have a file on them that I'm basically going and filling out information, good and bad, between these ride-alongs. It could be something as simple as like, hey, this technician did a great job. He texted me the night before, making sure it was okay that I showed up at like 7 a.m. Or it could be like, hey, this guy walked into my house with muddy shoes. I'm not the one to complain. I didn't say anything, but just please make your guys put on shoes. So I have a good column and I have a bad column. on that ride along, when I'm with these guys, I'm asking them, hey, this is what you've been doing well. This is what you need to work on. I'm asking them, where do they want to be? What are their goals? What are they looking for? And we can get into that in a different episode on how we actually structure the growth and advancement of the employees. But the point is, when you have this information to go off of, it's so much easier and it's so much more clearer for not only you as a manager, but the technician as well, because the technician could think they're doing a million, like they're just worth $1 million and they're doing everything correct. And it's like, hey man, you're pissing off a lot of people. You know, you're doing a lot of things. You're creating more work for the office. You're calling people you shouldn't be calling. You're not doing things appropriately. We talked about this on your last ride along and the ride along before that. So unfortunately, no, I don't think an assistant manager position is ready for you yet, but this is what you need to do to fix it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a little heated there because this stuff gets to me, but you know what I mean?
Well, no, but that was good, because what a lot of people don't realize and what they're going to run into as they start stepping into that role is exactly what we've had to go through and what we've learned, right? And shocking enough, there's a lot of companies that don't do this. They just deal with the turnover and just keep on moving. Yeah, it is. It really is. But a lot of people do that and they don't look at that. And so what we've learned and why we're telling you this is because you're going to hire someone on, you hire that person on, you want to praise them, of course.
Sure.
Because they just alleviated all that workload off of you. So you praise them, you say, good job, you're doing awesome, I'm so proud of you. And then they come in and say, well, I'm so perfect, then I'm worth way more and you're going to die without me. You know, little do they know you were literally just doing their job a month beforehand, right? And you can still do their job.
Yes.
But the problem is when you're setting up the newer generation, this is a big issue. If you're going with the old generation, it's actually not too bad. They don't expect you to sit down and talk to them. They expect reviews and things like that, but typically yearly reviews, and it's very extended and they're happy where they sit. The younger generation, you tell them good job right now. And I think this is more because parents are this way today, as everyone's a winner, everyone's perfect. And if you give them, hey, you did a good job, they think, well, now I know everything. I should be management. And it's like, wait, what? I just said you did a good job. You actually showed up on time. Like, I'm not saying you're doing anything special. I just am giving you praise of thank you for the hard work.
Yeah.
You know, but they instantly assume, well, now I own everything and I need to be, you know, the person. And it's like, wait a minute. No, not yet.
Yeah.
But that's what Aaron is going off of, right? How does your structure look to keep employees for the long amount of time? They need little rewards as they go along. You know, it's the carrot in front of the horse, you know, analogy. It's what does that look like? And that's what we were talking about when we even had the episode on management, right? Is what is management going through? And this is exactly what they're going through, guys. You're seeing it now. You're sitting in a truck. You're a route tech. You have nothing. This is not your episode, right?
Yeah.
This is why they're doing little things, is to get you involved and to keep you growing, you know, but you eventually will hit a point where you've grown almost as much as you can until the company keeps growing. So it's understanding what that looks like and why, if you're just a regular route tech. Now, your management, your owner, what does that structure look like? We've learned, right? We sit down with guys, we're doing wellness checks with them, right? That's it. Wellness check. We don't do. And guys, we're giving you this information. Take it or leave it. We don't really care if you use it or not. Most of you probably won't, to be honest with you. It's laziness. It's a lot of work. So you'll probably just get away with not doing it at all until you start running into issues. And then you're going to say, well, why the hell is this not working?
Yeah.
You're going to see pretty quickly, because guys will come on. Once you start giving them praise, they essentially think they've hit their max level. And if they're not seeing enough growth fast enough and you're not humbling them, then they're walking, you know, and that's where we're sitting down with them. And when we're doing ride-alongs, it's, yes, you've been doing this good, but you've also been doing that bad.
Yeah.
And you got to even them out. Because if you sit down and do a review and you say, what do you think? They're going to say, well, I'm the best of the best. Of course they are, right?
Yeah.
And of course they're going to put on themselves on their best behavior a week before
Sure.
A ride along or whatever. So they can be like, look, I haven't done anything wrong.
My truck's sparkling.
Yeah. And it's like, no, come on. So, but that's why you have to keep that record. And it's not because we're keeping a record of all the bad. It's we're keeping a record of all that bad because if we can change it, how much more can you do? And how much more can the company get out of that person and grow because we're pointing out those flaws?
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing that people don't realize either. When somebody sits down with you and points out all your flaws, that's not a bad thing. That is saying, oh shit, I can actually improve on all of those things.
Yeah.
People look at that and say, well, they hate me or they don't like me or I'm not doing it. And it's like, no. You just got to improve those little things and you're going to absolutely destroy.
Yeah.
And you can there's so much potential there. But if you work on those little things, you don't work on those, you can't grow, you're not going to be anything. And then you're going to leave anyway.
Exactly.
But during that process, and what we're doing is when we're bringing them on and we're going through the 90-day process. And then after that, we're doing the ride alongs and we're slowly doing the checks and we're doing investment plans, which we won't get into that. But we essentially are creating, hey, who's our team? Where are the strong points in that team and where can we put them and use them? That's really what we're trying to do because everyone has their piece, but we also want to create it to where there's stepping stones of progression. You jump on and you're getting paid 18, we jump you to 25. There is no progression there. And now you just screwed yourself because there is no steps.
Yeah.
So the company's either going to want to get rid of you or you're going to eventually leave the company because they just gave you something that you weren't even worth. And that's the unfortunate part. But this is stuff that you're going to get into and you're going to start learning.
Yeah.
And you may say, nah, that's BS. No one goes through that stuff. Just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait. Yeah. You're going to get through it. You're going to jump a step and then you're going to be like, crap. Well, now what are we going to do with this person?
Exactly.
We're overpaying someone for literally nothing and we can find someone for half the cost. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
So you have to have these steps in place, but it is creating that and it's understanding who are you dealing with? What's that age range look like? And then is your program set across the board? Because even if they are older and you don't have to do it, if your program is set up that way, it's got to be that way.
Sure.
There can't be changes there, and what we're seeing at least now, and other people who have employees that are listening, they may think this too, or they may not be running into it. I don't know. Could be the area. But what we're running into a lot with a lot of the new employees and the younger ones is it's a lonely job. It's a lonely job and people need the attention. And if you're not giving them that attention, they don't really want to be, they'll leave.
Yeah.
Or they just don't feel growth. They don't feel loved, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but they'll end up, walking away because they can't handle working by themselves and not talking to anybody.
Sure.
And that is something that we're going through. And that's why we're doing these wellness checks. That's why we go through and we have essentially on Fridays, we're pulling guys in and talking to them one-on-one. How's everything going? How you doing? The phone calls, ride-alongs. We've structured a system to where we can be with them, not all the time because we can't babysit them. Yeah. That's kind of defeats the purpose, but we're in contact with them enough to where they don't feel lonely.
Correct. And before we go a little further, I know we said we kind of separated and we do. So the ride-alongs and the one-on-ones on Friday meeting is you're going to have a little bit of a wellness check, but the point of it is for job performance. And we wanted to separate job performance versus wellness checks. So kind of how, at least we've only done a couple of them so far because we just literally came up with it a month ago.
Yeah.
But the wellness checks is we're bringing a guy in or I'm meeting them out in the field or even, I like to do it in person, but I guess it could be a conversation if it's either large enough or you're too far away.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, yes, we're going to talk about work, but this is not for job performance, right? This is a wellness check and we're labeling it out. Like this is the point of this is just to make sure that you're doing okay, like your physical well-being, your mental well-being. And this is your opportunity to be transparent with me because if you don't tell me what's going on, I can't help you, which I'm sure all of you have had employees or dealt with somebody who you had no idea something was going on, and they blow up one day, and it's like, what the hell was I supposed to do about it? I didn't know,
Yep.
but the way these wellness checks, it's, and we have tons of questions, and it's not like a questionnaire that we're checking off a box, but it's nice to be able to refresh your mind a little bit. But it's like, physically, obviously, how are you feeling?
Uh,
Like, are you okay? Are you aching? Like, mentally, how is everything? How is your work-life balance? Are we providing enough resources for you? Do you feel like you can be, doing well at your job? Like, is there anything that we can be doing on our end to help? And we're just going through tons of things, and I'm digging deep, and I'm staying away from do this, do that better, don't do this. It's more of, how are you? Tell me. When they tell me something, I'm like, tell me a little bit more about that. What's going on? At least just tell me about something with their kids or their wife or their husband or whatever's going on. And I'm like, well, how does that make you feel? How is that affecting your thing here? I don't know. I'm like, I bet that's draining.
Mhm.
It's a little bit of interpersonal skills that you will develop along the way, but
Yeah.
you'll be surprised at some of the answers. Like, I've been, at least. You have guys telling me that, I would prefer to like work super early mornings because, I could spend more time with my kid in the afternoon. I would have never known that, if we
Mhm.
just kind of let things go by the wayside. And it's like, okay,
Yep.
now when we're scheduling, we can start doing some early ass commercial accounts on you. And if it works out, some days you will get off earlier. Thanks
Yeah.
for telling me. Let's make this work. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, but that's the importance of it, and I think that's where you get so many of the lower, the guys that are just running routes, the mundane, nobody wants to go and talk to them, and they don't want to really go through that process to figure out what's going on. Even your warehouse line workers, your
Mhm.
guys that, boots on the ground, restaurant people, those are the people that have really good ideas sometimes. We hear it so much where it's like, go talk to them.
Mhm.
They know how to make the process go quicker.
That's your guy.
Yeah. But nobody talks to them. No one sits down and goes through the wellness check. But it's so crucial as you start to grow and you create that and it becomes part of your system. You can start to pinpoint actually when guys are going to leave and when they're done and you can't save them. You know that, but you wouldn't know that if you don't talk to them. And so where we've kind of created a change, and this is where if you are pushing for growth and you are pushing for the next level, be on the offensive, right?
Mhm.
You need to be constantly moving and acting and changing. Just like Aaron was saying, yeah, we just implemented the wellness check, but we implemented the wellness check because we ran into another issue
Mhm.
where we thought an actual other program that we created would fix that, and it didn't.
Mhm.
And so now we create the wellness check to say, hey, let's figure out what's going on with these guys to get into their head and understand, hey, is there something that we can do to change that? But this is a time to be honest. And this is hard.
Mhm.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You have to be honest back with them.
Mhm.
A guy comes in and says, hey, I'll give a different example of a different guy. I'm going to bring my kids to school and drop them off every day. They don't start until 8:30, so I'm going to have a late start no matter what, but I still want to get done early, right? And it's like, okay, no, that's not going to happen.
Mhm.
It's not right now at least.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have the resources. You have to be honest and upfront with people. So not only are you asking them or finding out what's going on and what you can do, but you also have to be honest to yourself and with them is in some cases it's absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
So like something that we have to adopt here, but that Brian Goldman actually adopted and he actually talked about it and he does it there is during the summer months. That's a no vacation month.
Mhm.
And he gives incentives to people who don't take vacation and things like that. But during the summer months, no vacations. Like it's off limits. Like you
Mhm.
can't do it during the summer months.
Yeah.
That's the busy month. We had people leave and go and do their vacation. And every time we absolutely get screwed and it's during the summer month. And we just don't have it's not the time for that.
Yeah.
Anyone can take any time outside of that. But that's just some of the programs and things like that that you have to create prior to. And so if you can get on this before,
Right.
start thinking 10 years ahead.
Yeah.
Plan for when you have 1, 2, 5 dozen, whatever,
Yeah.
people on. Because if you're planning out that far ahead, you're going to start to see some of these things, and then you're just doing little tweaks here and there, and that's what we're doing. We're playing with it, we're seeing, but we're making the mistakes so you guys don't have to.
Exactly.
So, and we've made a lot of mistakes. You lose guys. Luckily, they've all been good guys to lose, but you lose guys because stuff isn't set in place. And then the next person that comes in is even better off, and they're following that structure.
Yes, they are.
Because it's so hard to change something after you're already running. You want to start doing wellness check now, the guys have to start to get used to that. You want to put camera systems in your trucks. The guys have to start getting used to that. It's easy when you got 4 or 5 trucks. It's difficult when you got dozens, because now you're dealing with dozens of employees.
Yeah.
But now it's great because a new guy comes in. He's like, cameras. Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
It's what we do. And but those are all things that guys, people don't understand. The processes and the systems that you have in when you start to bring in new people, if you don't have that in place, it's very difficult after that, because we've lost people because we've started implementing new things, and it naturally pushes those people out because you're held to a higher standard.
Yes, it does.
And that higher standard is hard to follow when you're at a place that you were doing bare minimum to nothing. It's really difficult.
See it.
I just saw it somewhere. They actually got rid of a manager because the guy above him, came in and started changing everything, and that manager couldn't handle it. And he was used to being lazy. And he's like, you guys are going corporate now, blah, 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 all this stuff. And it was actually just do your job. And he wasn't doing his job. So if you have those systems in place earlier on, the better.
Yeah.
Learn. And it's hard. It's actually really, really difficult because you're running everywhere, full speed, unless you're growing very, very slow.
Yeah.
If you're growing very, very slow, it's okay. When you're growing pretty fast, you don't have a lot of time, and if you're running thinner with less people, you're doing a lot of the work,
sure,
because you're trying to save that money. So it even gets more difficult because you're running out and doing the tech work, and then you're doing the office work. So keeping track of those changes in that system and what we need to do, that's the fun part now, is we have more resources, we have more time that we can focus and tweak these things. But if I could go back and already have this implemented from the beginning, we would be 10 times further ahead, right?
Right.
But it's all that learning curve of what you're doing from that hiring process. You're bringing that new guy on, whether it's office or whether it's tech. And then what does that system look like as they're going through that path? What does their career look like? Is there a clear path to progression and they can actually become something? Or is it kind of in the dark? And if it's in the dark, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I've been pretty clear and upfront with you from the beginning. And really anybody who comes in is there's positions that we don't know exist yet. Right? Yes, you're a route tech right now. Okay. But I don't know what the future is going to bring.
Yeah.
So, and that could be a month, could be 3 months, could be a year, could be 5 years.
I don't know.
We have no idea.
Yeah.
Just depends on how good we are doing and how quickly we're growing. But you can be in the dark. You just got to let them understand that is, hey, look, this is where we sit, full transparency. As we start to grow, these positions are going to start opening up. Someone's going to have to train the new guy. I'm going to need someone for that.
Yeah.
Is that something you like to do? Is that something that you can do?
Yeah.
And you start telling them this, they start to pull on those positions. Now, you still have to be careful with that, because this is another thing I learned. Even though you're telling people this, a lot of people don't like it. So they'll say yes, yes, yes to being, hey, I'll be a trainer, but they're not a trainer and they hate it.
Yeah.
Or they don't like doing a specific thing, rodent work, whatever it may be. They're going to do it, but they're going to be terrible at it. And you have to be able to pinpoint that and say, okay, we're done. We got to take that off of them. They suck.
Yeah.
Because you do get declined in service. You do see a lot of dips. It actually is, it's not a good thing. Even though someone says, yes, 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 it's not a positive thing.
It's not.
No, you have to have someone who actually enjoys it, or they can make themselves enjoy it, which is even a harder trait to find in someone.
True.
Very difficult, but there's so many little factors in there as you're bringing that person on. Are you paying attention to it? Are you tweaking it? Are you making it better?
Yeah.
You know, was there any other little tips that you want to throw out to these guys? I know we didn't go over everything. And of course, we're not going to structure it out perfectly for you, just so everyone knows listening in. We're not going to give you everything we have because it's really based off of you.
True.
And your program. But we're kind of jumping all over the place, giving you pieces, put it together how you want it. I'm not going to give you my copy paste program because it's not going to work for you if it's not your personality. So these are the ideas that we have and we've implemented and we've seen actually a lot of growth from it. Is it perfect? No. We're constantly changing and we're going to keep changing it because of what we're running into, the newer generation, what they're going through, and the feedback we get from our guys. We're going to constantly adapt to that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the little scrambled piece of what we're doing when we bring on someone new and some of the hiccups that we've ran into.
Yeah.
But can you think of anything else?
No, I mean, we're doing tons of interviews when we're talking to the technicians that are coming in from other companies. One of the main things I hear is I was falsely promised of a position that was never given to me. Whether that's true, whether that's not, it goes back to the clarity, and I think there's an easy way to avoid getting some of your employees wondering what are those next steps. And it's obvious if you don't sit there and talk to them or humble them at the appropriate moments and say, hey, you know what? We don't have a management position open yet. The next time we're going to be able to even discuss this is a year from now. Make that very clear to them. So that way, if they decide to stay, great. Then you know that they're committed and you got a year out of probably somebody who's going to do great things. And if they're going to jump ship, probably wasn't a good fit anyways.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, from the get-go, from the interview process, just so everyone knows, you don't know who you're getting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, even if you hire a really good friend, you don't know who you're getting.
Yeah.
You literally don't. So don't put yourself on a pedestal thinking that you're the only, you're the best at hiring and you're only going to hire the best of the best. You can hire someone who puts on an amazing face and sucks. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
That absolutely sucks. I've had guys here that have been here for years and then you find, and they say a lot, but the actions suck. There's nothing there behind it. So you can even have someone who's been there longevity, and that doesn't mean that they're good at what they do or even like what they do. They can still be terrible, so even during the interview process, what you create and how and whatever questions you're asking, make sure that it is tailored. This is another thing that people get wrong is they just have a blank generic, here's my interview questions for every position across the board. You can't do that either. Right? You got to tweak it to, okay, I'm hiring an assistant manager or a manager. I'm asking different questions than I'd ask just a regular route tech. And a residential tech to a commercial tech is going to be different, right? There's going to be different conversations there. But it's because they're doing different things and it shouldn't be the same. And even if you think that person's phenomenal, they may come in and suck.
Yeah, it's true. We've seen it.
Yeah. So, and that's another really hard one is you go out and you hire someone in the beginning, it's expensive. You get all their clothes, everything ready, their uniforms, you get the vehicle, and then they suck, and then you're like, okay, do I fire them or do I put up with it in the meantime, and honestly, it's cut your losses while you can.
I agree.
And just keep looking for someone. If they're all right and you can kind of skim by, use them, use and abuse, but be looking for somebody in the meantime, because you want to hire someone and then get rid of that person as quickly as possible. But your interview process too needs to be tweaked and it needs to be focused on, and what are you actually asking, and then be prepared. What does that process look like? Right? We have that 90-day process, that 90-day probationary period is crucial. We have a guy we're probably going to fire.
Mhm.
You know, he sucks. He has complaints. You
Already?
know, first week of work and he already has some complaints. That to us, red flag. You're done.
Yep.
You question what we're doing here, you're done.
Mhm.
I don't know you. You're coming in. I don't know you. I don't care about you.
Yep.
Prove yourself, and then I'll start caring. Until then, no. This is purely business.
Mhm.
No family. Doesn't matter if it's a family-run company. No. None of that family bullshit. You're coming in. You're doing a job, and you're doing a good job. You don't hold up to that standard, get out.
Easy.
And it needs to be that clear, and it's harsh, but the ones who are following it, the ones who are putting their heart and soul into it are going to do phenomenal. They're going to do great. The ones that don't, they're going to suck and you're going to get out.
Yeah.
You know, there was a good thing when we were doing door-to-door sales, we actually had a very simple structure, and I loved it because every time we implemented it, everybody freaked out, and it was the best. You show up late to a meeting, you get fined, and we take it off of your check.
Mhm.
Is what it is.
So nice.
And people would freak, but it's like, why? If you show up on time, it doesn't even affect you.
Mhm.
But they'd get mad.
Mhm.
It's the same thing with the speeding ticket.
Yeah.
If you didn't speed, you wouldn't get a ticket.
Funny enough.
Doesn't apply to you if you don't speed.
Mhm.
Cop can't give you a ticket for that.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing something else, he can. But if you're just driving,
Mhm.
they can't give you a ticket for just driving.
Right.
As long as you're legal, you're good. Right? But that's the concept of when you bring people in. Follow the. I'm not asking you to do anything crazy.
Yeah.
Follow the rules.
Yep.
Do a good job. Show up on time. I mean, that covers everything.
Basically, yeah, that literally covers everything.
I'm just asking you to be a functional adult. You
Yeah.
do that, you're set.
Yeah.
You're golden.
I agree.
You want to do more, we'll work
Yeah.
with you. And there's progression there.
Mhm.
You don't, then we're not going to work with you and there's no progression. But you have to be that up front.
Yeah.
And don't baby the person who came on in their first 90 days.
Mhm.
That's a huge mistake that so many people will make. It's don't try to make this person your best friend. It doesn't matter what they say, how much they say. I look at everybody and everything they say. It's BS.
Yeah.
From the very beginning.
Mhm.
Until you can prove yourself,
Mhm.
it's BS. It's easy to say I'm going to work 6 days a week all month long and then actually doing it. There's a big difference there.
Yes, there is.
And it's easy to do that for a month. That's hard to do for a year.
Or multiple years.
Or multiple years. But that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what people don't see. People get it and they come in. I can do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do everything for you. I'll do everything. I'll do everything. I'll do everything. And then they do barely everything.
And they hate their lives.
And they hate their lives. Yeah. But that's where you have to, these are the learning curves that you get yourself into. And that's what you're going to start to see. But can you set up that program prior or right when you hire and start to create that program so that by the time you get on a second or a third or a fourth, that original guy has actually stayed on.
Yeah.
And possibly he's even helped you create some of these programs and you've seen the growth because you put that in practice.
Right.
You've been upfront with them. You've been honest with them. You've told them when they suck, when they've done good, when they've done bad. You have to do that. And if you don't and you hold that information back, then by the time you tell them they suck, they're like, I've been sucking for how many years?
Yeah, exactly. That's on you.
Yeah. And you just are telling me that now.
Mhm.
You know, it's hard for some people. And we've had that conversation. We're like, well, actually, you're doing terrible. And they're like, well, why didn't you say something? And it's like, well, good point.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was common sense, but you know, you do have to tell them.
Absolutely.
You have to be upfront. Okay. Before we close, was that everything?
I think that's everything.
Okay.
That's good.
I know it's scattered.
No, it's okay. And I think the point of it was just kind of going sort of off of a couple last episodes and starting that, bringing on your team, building that team. And I guess today was kind of keeping that team. That's something that we've been trying to focus on a ton, is that retention.
Yep.
So if you guys have made it this far in the episode, thank you, because it was a little all over the place, but I feel like we got some good stuff in there. And please, whatever training program you guys do have, or if ours sounded bad, sounded great, let us know. I mean, we haven't had a pest guest in a while, so you guys are just starting off and you have some ideas you want to throw out or want some advice, we'd love to have you on the show. There's tons of ways to get a hold of us. Website, you have that direct link to email us. We have our YouTube channel up now. We have our Facebook group. We have our Instagram. And I think that's it, right?
Yep, you got it all.
Social media. Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know we drop episodes every Monday and Thursday. So thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.